Morning folks, Bob here. We're going to get into some outdoor engineering adventures today, and today's adventure is, as you can see, we're going to attempt to install this and hopefully be successful at it. This it's kind of upside down, but this is an aluminum B&M oil pan, deep oil pan. I already have a deep oil pan on the Plymouth, but for the last couple of years it's been leaking severely, and so we're going to do an upgrade, and I needed it's been in 4 years and I got the transmission used, so it needs a filter change and fluid change. So okay, sorry about that, hit the wrong button. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and prep this pan. I got this pan off the jungle store, and the way I do my gaskets now, if I can, you can't do this in every instance, but what I found works better is to glue the gasket on first and let the silicone set up, and before you put it on the whatever you're installing, before you install it, just let this, because otherwise the silicone just gets everywhere, the gaskets fall off, and then when you tighten them up, the silicone goes everywhere, squishes out, and it doesn't really stay where it's supposed to. So I'm going to start this, even though this looks like it's kind of rough from the factory. I'm going to take this Scotch-Brite pad, and I'm going to dull this up, because no, just slightly dull it up. Typically silicone adheres better to dull surfaces and not shiny surfaces. So we're gonna real quick here. I had this piece laying around anyway, so we're gonna do that. Just dull it up a little bit. And that should be good enough. This was a used pan off the jungle store, once again, and that somebody returned. They already put the there's a plug in the side on these pans, and I think you can see it right here. That's for a temp sensor, and then of course here's the drain plug, which has a small magnet on it. So I believe they returned it because the CNC, and I'll show you maybe a little later in the video, but maybe I'll show you right now. So when they CNC'd this piece, the B&M logo, I don't know if that shows up. Yeah, you can, I don't know if you can catch that, but the machining process was let's just say less than stellar. So somebody probably returned it because of that, but my car is a patina car, so it's not really going to matter. It'll actually probably kind of blend in, so got a pretty good deal on it because it was used. And so we're going to give it a whirl, since I had to I needed to replace that filter this year anyway. It's been in there a while. That transmission that's in my car is used, so I bought it used. Because I had the original push button. It's a cable driven transmission in a 65 model, and they went to the rod style in 66, unfortunately for me. So I attempted to have that transmission rebuilt and spent some money on it, and ended up not working out. So I purchased a 71 model 727. So if you're gonna go that route, and which I highly recommend, and upgrade, it's best to get a 71 and up transmission if you can, because they've upgraded the size of the I think it's the bushing, I think, on the where the torque converter goes in. I think there's a few other upgrades to the throttle body. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to squirt some of this Mopar ATV black silicone maker around it. I think this flange is bigger than the gasket itself, so I want to make sure I stay in the center. Probably should have made the hole a little bit bigger, but I like to start off with the small, because if you don't use all this stuff and then you got to recut the opening, it gets bigger and bigger as you recut it. So start small. Almost got it. There we go. Should be good. Stick the cap back on here and make a mess. Caps on silicone never seem to work well. Alright, so not sure I need to actually smooth this down. Now this gasket, I have a rubber gasket too, but all these gaskets are all kind of bent wonky from being wadded up in the package. I tried to put some weight on them. I should have done it last night, and I didn't. So they're, I'm trying to straighten these gaskets out so they'll lay down a little bit easier. I'm going to do this in advance. Then I'm going to, once I get this gasket on, and I'm going to try and turn it over. And, put it in the sun. I'm not going to put a whole bunch of pressure on it, but I am going to turn it over, lay the pan in the sun, so it'll begin to dry. And I'm not having real good luck here getting this gasket to hold shape where I can actually lay it down without getting silicone all over the place. Still got all these kinks in it. And one thing you don't want to do is, so let's see if we can actually make this happen without making too much of a mess. There we go. That's it. Easy, nice and easy. Try and get it without moving it too much. And so far so good. Just a little bit off. There we go. Now it's a lot easier doing it this way than it is underneath the car. And I can see that some of the sealer needs to be closer to the holes, so it's going to take this putty knife and push it closer to holes. Some of it I got a little too far away from, so let's pull it in towards the holes. You can see it's already starting to somewhat set up. This one's a little further away over here. Let's get there. Let's come in here. That one's good. Those are good. So let's go ahead and lay it down. This one needs to move a little bit before I lay it down. You want to get silicone near the holes, but you don't want so much silicone around the hole that it plugs up the hole. So let's go there, there. Perfect. 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 I think these were all close because I can see the silicone squishing out. Yep. So those are good there. Alright. So it's not wanting to lay down too good. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it, and the sun's over there on the back of the car, so I'm going to take it over there and lay it upside down. It's stuck down good now. So I'm not going to put any pressure on it. I am going to push it down just a little bit. sure the silicone's not staying wadded up in the center where I squished it out. Normally I take that putty knife, which I should have, and just should have took the putty knife. I could have took the putty knife, which sometimes I do, and smooth the silicone out before I put the gasket on. So right now I'm just going to go with my thumb and I can feel a little bit of lumpiness. So I'm just going to push it down where it feels, where the silicone's I can see it a little bit squishing out the side of the gasket. And that's what happens when you bolt it on, but unfortunately you never know when to stop. And then you go too far and the silicone just, there we go, the silicone just ends up so thin and it's just all squished out. The silicone really isn't doing anything at that point. So, and I can actually see a little bit right here that I can actually take that off because I don't want silicone going into the engine into the transmission. Okay, that looks good. I'll leave it just like that. I'm going to take it and put it on the Okay, got it over there on the back of the car, and I'm gonna see if we got some of these weights here. And this one's kind of heavy, this one's kind of heavy, so drag a couple of these old pinion gears. While I'm getting the car set up, we'll weight this down. Here's a big heavy one. Okay. All right. So you don't have any massive pinion gears laying around, you can use whatever, but just don't put, I'm not putting a whole lot of weight on it. And I'm just going to leave it. Note to self, when the silicone's wet, make sure you put it on a flat surface, otherwise it's going to slide like it did on the back of the trunk there. So a little minor setback, got it all squared away. Actually worked out better because it kind of it did like I was going to do with the putty knife and slide the gasket material, it spread the RTV out more evenly, and then I replaced the gasket on top of it, and I've got it weighted down. You can see it's not sliding now. So we're going to leave it just like that, and I'm going to get the car set up, and I'll pull it over here, put it up on jack stand. So let's get the jack stand set up. and now I'm going to go get the car. All right, looks like that front tire is a little low on air, so I think we should put some in there. Maybe, we'll see. Probably not. Anyway, it's gonna take me a few minutes. I got to get my pad for underneath there in the bucket. So let me go get those things and I'll be right back. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna start this by luckily this I've already got a 4-inch pan on here, so you can see it's already a deep pan, and it's got a drain on it, which is kind of nice. So I'm just going to drain the fluid to start off with, and at least that'll make the pan, it's going to make the pan coming off much easier because the fluid doesn't go everywhere. So let's I thought the pan gasket was leaking, but it kind of looks like the speedometer gear housing, the little round gear housing which has the O-ring on it. It looks like it's leaking. Wow, that fluid looks really good. So, I might have to rebottle this stuff. I don't know. It's been in there for, well, it leaks so much. I'm always adding fluid, so I'm kind of not surprised. It's pretty clean. So. Actually, now that I say that, I'll hit that drain for a minute. I'll put the drain plug over here. And so I guess I can, oh, it's draining. These are 13mm bolts. Start pulling a few of these off. Said I haven't had this pan off, and I think I put it on, I don't remember, maybe 3 years ago. Oops. And those will have to, I think this extension's too long, but anyway, let's get a couple of these out. All straining. And then we'll get the pan out of the way and it'll be easier. and it's really stuck. And I'll bolt her out. So let's see if we can go this way with it. Definitely no turning back now since I boogered up the gasket. Looks like it's moving there. There we go. Good. That's good. Why this tripod is freaking horrible. It really is, but I guess that's what you get for $10 or whatever I paid for it. Move this back over here. There we go, and you can see, looks like there is plenty of debris on that filter. Whoa, I don't want to dump this fluid out. Alright, so now, if you were going to adjust your band, your rear band, now would be the time to do it, because right here on a 727 is your rear band adjuster. So mine is shifting good. I've seen folks that were DIYers, including myself, adjust them, and then the transmission doesn't function properly after they're finished. So there was nothing wrong with the trans. I know it does have about 45,000 miles on it now, and it probably could use an adjustment, but since I've never done it before, and I really don't want to have to do this twice, and there was nothing wrong with it, I'm going to leave it. It's not a daily driver, so it's not like I'm going to put 50,000 miles in it in 2 years. Be lucky to get a couple thousand in a year or two. So the procedure is to you'd of course have to back off the I don't know if you can see this. Let me see. Get the camera. Of course, there's videos on the internet about it. So that right there, you back off the lock nut, and then you tighten the center adjuster to 72 inch-pounds, and it's inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, and then you back it off. I think on this model transmission it's a turn and a half. Some people say 2 turns. I was looking at a chart the other day. I think the 46 RE is 2 turns. I think the 727 is a turn and a half. Not sure why they're different. They're almost identical transmissions, but I guess the pressures are different, so that's just what that particular chart said. If you attempt it yourself, you're probably going to want to go on the internet and of course verify. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna mess with it. There's the servo over here for the front band. The adjustment is I think it's on the other side. I think the adjustment on the front band is on the other side of the transmission. It's the same procedure, same process. You can see my my deep pan. I already have a spacer on it. The B&M came with a spacer, so I'm not sure if it's the same thickness, but I've got to take the filter off anyway. And it does look, it's kind of hard to tell if that's just filter or if that's debris, but other than that, it looks pretty clean, so I'm pretty happy with that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag the I'm going to pull the filter off, and then I've got to clean up all this. You can see all this old where it's stuck real good, this gasket. I got to clean all that off, scrape it off, and that's going to take a few minutes. I'm not going to videotape that, so maybe a little bit, but then I'll just I guess I'll tape this taking the filter off, and then I'll return the video. That is if I have the, yeah, that's a hex. Go see if I have that hex available. See if I get lucky and it's one of these. Aha. So I can use my ratchet. Very nice. Always like it when a plan comes together. I'm gonna do is figure out what ratchet is. Again, hopefully I don't drop any of these in the fluid, but I have to keep the got to keep the bucket underneath there because more fluid's going to come out of here. These bolts probably could have been a little bit tighter too. They're tight enough, I guess. Probably would have been easier with a T-handle or something, but it's going to go with what I got handy, which is normally the way I do it. So in the essence of videotaping, this is coming out pretty good though. One. It's getting messy. Transmission fluid smells good. It does not smell burnt, so that is a real good. That's a real good sign. Because one thing I'm really not looking forward to right now is any kind of transmission replacement. So let me put these bolts down. Get in there. Here we go. And yeah, you're gonna get dirty. No way around it. Probably would have been better with a T-handle on this, but just gotta get a better hold of this. I don't want to drop this filter in the pan. So I don't want to tip it over just yet because it's got the spacer on it. And that spacer will fall off into the pan. Oh, it almost went. Okay, that's good. Alright, let's put this. There was some, I don't know what that little chunky stuff is. I don't know if that's gasket material or what that is, but there was some little pieces of black stuff. So let's see if I can. You know, I think that was just kind of the way the filter material is. That from an angle it looked like it was had more, you know, particles on it than it actually does. It's not really that bad. I probably could have got away with just leaving it on, but I don't know, why do that, right? When you can, when I've got a brand new one and I'm going through all this, so why not replace it? So, yep, so there it is. And like I said, now I've got to, you know, scrape all this material off, which, and if anybody's done this, if you're in a shop, it's probably a lot easier because you're not laying on your back. But nonetheless, I'll get it scraped off of there, and then I'll just restart the video. Probably go grab some lunch, cold snacks, and then return to this. And hopefully this, hopefully my exhaust pipes don't get in the way of that. Otherwise, I'm going to have to grind the corner of the pan. I can see that my pipe runs right next to the transmission pan. So, yeah. Go ahead and get out of here and get this filter out of my hand. Still trying to let some of this, probably should let it sit here for a minute, but the fluid looks really clean. I mean, If it wasn't for wanting to upgrade this pan, this probably really didn't even need to be done. But you know, you don't know until you get in there and check it out. So let's continue on here. I do have some material on the bottom of this pan. On the magnet, it's actually probably, I didn't think I'd see that much, but you know, the transmission did sit for you know, fellow that I bought it from said it sat for 15 years, and came out of his father's RV camper home that had a was a Dodge camper that had a 440 in it. So you know, it's probably going to be a heavy-duty transmission, which is good, and that's why it was such a good deal to buy it. He did say it had about 40,000 on it when they pulled it, so I put quite a few miles on it, but I'm kind of surprised to see that much material. That's clutch material, of course, and band material in the pan. But you know, I do have a tendency to spin it up on the RPMs every once in a while. So it's still shifting good, and we're going to leave it alone. We're gonna swap this B&M pan in here, and I'm gonna, luckily I don't have to clean all this off. Well, actually I will, because I have another transmission, 727. I'm going to save this pan and probably use it on it if I ever have to use it. So I'm going to get to, just wanted to show you that, and this filter, and the filter was pretty good. Only had a couple little pieces of, did have a little bit of trash on it there, so you can see around where the mount was, there's a little trash there. So you know, maybe it was good that we replace it. Actually is good. I mean, if you're going to go through this, you should just replace it. So we got all new fluid, I got a new filter, and I've got to get underneath there and scrape all that, and of course everybody knows how nasty that is. So that's the poo-poo job, as they say on Cold War motors. If you haven't seen them, check them out. They got a great channel if you like old car stuff and, you know, pre-70s cars. They're actually working on a Model A now in an Edsel. So but they've got 10 plus years of videos. If you've got some time to kill and you want to check out some cool videos, check them out. And yeah, let me get cleaned up here. I'm going to get under there and start scraping, then I'm going to have some cold snacks, and then we'll do the we'll get back to reinstalling it, and then I'll crank the video back up. Okay guys, I'm back, and all rested up, got some grub, and it's time to start putting this back together. So I want to show you a few things here. What I like to do now before I put my gaskets on, I don't of course I showed you I glued it to the pan, I let it dry, and then before going to lunch I put the gasket sealer on the pan, and then I used while it was still wet, I took this putty knife, smoothed it all out flat, put it in the sun and let it dry. So now it's not like as hard as it could be dry. It's still very pliable and somewhat tacky, but you can see it's, you know, it's not all the way dry, but it's pretty hard. But it will squash when you put pressure on it, and that's the way I like to put my gaskets on now. It's like so for 40 years I think I've not been doing it as good as I could be, because what this does is you know, anytime you got to put a piece like this in a tight spot by yourself, or valve cover gaskets in an engine compartment when you have the spark plug wire still on and you got heater hoses, anytime you put the gasket sealer, the RTV, on something and you try and put it in place, it either gets wiped off by something like a hose or a wire, or by the time you get it in place, you move it around, you didn't get it seated exactly properly, and then it, like you showed you on the trunk over there, it moves, wipes the, you know, then half of it gets wiped off. You're not sure if you got any in the right spot or not. All the years fighting with that, I have learned that this is a much easier way to do it. So this is the way I've started doing it, and it's ready to go on. The gasket won't move around, and when I tighten the bolts up, the gasket sealer isn't slippery and the gasket won't slip out and expand like it normally does when you put it on wet. With this kit, I wanted to show you, I didn't necessarily like the hardware that they gave me, although I'm going to use the spacer, because the spacer that I bought with the less expensive pan, believe it or not, had a nice O-ring seal, and the hardware was much nicer. It's actually down here. So the hardware, I don't know what I did with the other two. Oh, they're in the bag still. So this spacer is probably 3/16 of an inch wider than was on this. They're the same depth. I measured them, but you can see this one and this one, and I measured them, and this one was 3/16 of an inch wider, which pushes the filter down into the pan more. And I measured it with the filter and the adapter and the gasket. It's about 2.5 inches, and my other one was only about right around 2 inches. So this one's actually going to be better. This wider one's going to be better. It's going to push the filter down into the pan a little further. One thing nice about this aluminum pan is they put these fins in, these ribs, for heat dissipation. You know, there's a spot here for the fluid to go between them. Anytime you can get you know, some of the heat out of transmission fluid, especially a 727, and I don't have an external cooler, heat's a killer for transmission. So yeah, so I'm going to try and use my hardware, even though it's a little bit shorter. They give you some longer bolts, but as you can see, this is standard grade, and it's a standard head, flathead screwdriver type, which is, and I didn't get any. Now I may have fallen out of the package because I bought it used, but there wasn't any washers. So yeah, I didn't like that. This is hardened. These bolts that came with my inexpensive pan were black hardened, and they're hex head instead of flathead, which makes a lot more sense. Better quality. So even though these are a little bit shorter, all right, here we go with the there goes the local first responders. Thank goodness for them, and that we have them. I know they're noisy at times, but it's definitely a necessary evil. So don't want to flip out and act like Puddin' and go chase him down the street like he does with the birds. Back to this. So this hardware is nice that they give these bolts with this B&M. With a B&M kit, I would expect something better than these standard grade flathead bolts, and I didn't get any washers. They did give me 2 of these bolts. I have yet to figure out what they're for. I might use them with I think they give you those because maybe they already know in advance that you got a shift linkage that you got to deal with. But yeah, hardware, not so good. The filter that I got, and I don't know if this is the one that came with the kit or somebody swapped it out, but this is a real small flimsy filter. It's got 2 holes in it. I'm assuming it's for 2 different types of transmissions, 727 or the 904 or the 518. But as you can see, I had already bought a couple extra to do other changes, and let me take this off. You can see the difference in this is a AC Delco, but I bought other ones too from ATP that are same size, and this one is you know, as you can see, actually it goes like this. It's quite a bit smaller, and nonetheless it has an extra hole in it. And now the plate, the extension plate, does cover that hole, but it's quite a large hole, and where it covers it, it gets real close to the edge of the, and it could pull fluid through there that's unfiltered. So I'm going to save that filter for a rainy day. You know, maybe if the world comes to an end and I need one. But I'm going to use the one that I bought with the AC Delco, because it's much larger and it doesn't have the extra hole, so it's a more quality filter. The filter material looks better as well, so we're going with that setup. So let me let's see, this is the tool I need. Let me set this up under the car. Let me take this with me and let's get this filter on, and then let's start putting the pan on so we can. It's starting to get late in the afternoon and I kind of want to be done with this project. So let me set that up there. And gotta remember to keep the gasket in there, so let's see if these bolts are long enough. And so we're gonna get that out of the way, and unfortunately I forgot to put it back in place. Spilled a little fluid when I went to lunch. Let's see. My tripod here is just not set up to finished torquing the bolts. Everything went well. Pan was nice and secure. Went up top. Of course, checked the fluid, and it's going to take. It takes at least 5 to 6 quarts if you're at the full level when you started the project. I believe I was a quart or 2 down, so I ended up having to put almost somewhere between 7 and somewhere around 7 to 8 quarts, probably about 7.5 quarts. You'll notice in the video that I use Type F, and there's some discussion on whether you can use those in these transmissions or if you should use the ATF plus 4. And the difference is the Type F on a 727, it doesn't have all the friction modifiers and the detergents, and it's not synthetic like the ATF 4 that's designed for the newer transmissions. And this being an older transmission, it's a little, the parts are more worn and broke in. And I used the Type F on my original older transmission, and when I used the ATF 4, it slipped and would barely shift. And I drained it and I put Type F in, and then it started shifting. And this transmission, using the Type F, the shifts are nice and firm and quick. They're not hard, but this is an older transmission, so in this situation. In my situation, the Type F was the better choice, and it's also a little less expensive. Not that that matters much, but so yeah, I do that here. I'll go ahead and top it off. And one thing to note is when you're checking your transmission fluid on a 727 or even the early model 46 REs. I don't know when they started going and putting the kit in, like you can put the aftermarket kit in. You have to check the fluid level with it in neutral. So block your tires and put your parking brake on, or have somebody in the car and put it in neutral for you and hold the brake. And then you check the fluid while it's in neutral. And if you ever have your transmission built, you can put a kit in it, a shift kit, which comes with a little piece that makes the pump run and park as well on the older transmissions, but mine is an original and obviously doesn't have it. So yep, that's what it did there. Put a bunch of fluid in it, like I said, 7-8 quarts, and then I went and took it for a ride up to the parts store to dispose of the used old fluid. And then I came back and checked underneath. I'll show you in the next video that everything looked good. There was no leaks. There was no fluid at all on the pan. So it was everything. Transmission shifted great, just as it did before. Maybe even a little better with the new fluid in it. Everything went well. I was happy with it. The pan does hang down a little low, so if that's a consideration for you, I show that in the video as well. It probably hangs down a little lower than I would like it to than the steel pan. If I'd known that beforehand, I'm not sure I would have gone with the aluminum pan, but it's kind of a little too late for that now. Hopefully I don't hit any speed bumps and do damage to it. It is an aluminum pan. If you hit something hard, it's going to crack. Fluid's going to dump all out of it. Unlike a steel pan, that could that could take a slight dent or a blow to it and not crack. That would just dent it. Anyhow, let it finish out, and thanks again for watching. I hope this helps you out if you decide to put one of these B&M aluminum pans, deep pans, on your vehicle. One thing I wanted to mention, those fins inside the pan, that does keep the debris from, as well as heat transfer. It keeps the material that comes out of the transmission, the debris in the bottom, from sliding around and getting mixed back in with the fluid and going through the transmission. So at any rate, just watch the rest of the video and enjoy it. If you like it, smash the like button and like and subscribe, and mention me in other videos if you can. I'd appreciate it, and good luck with your projects and have a great day. Thanks much, guys. Take care.